Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Every Day's a Train Wreck. I'm your host, Marley Majcher, and I am super excited today, as I always am, to introduce you to another really, really cool, amazing guest. Her name is Ashley McFarland, and for those of you who have listened to past podcasts, you know our favorite Viola Murone, the Italian with the hot husband. Well, Ashley is one of the girls that Viola has in her back pocket. So she is an astrologer. She's magic. I will tell you right now, literally having nothing to do with the fact that I was going to have a call with you, but I was like, is Mercury in retrograde again? Because I feel like that planet for me is just, I don't even know. Ashley, welcome to the program. Thank you for coming. And I'm so excited to jump in. Tell us what you do as an astrologer. You know, I'm old enough to know that Nancy Reagan used an astrologist, and so did Lady Di. She was Princess Diana, and everybody was like, oh, but I got to tell you, you know what's really funny? I totally put this on my necklace today, my Sagittarius necklace.
Yes, you are so Sag. Mm-hmm.
I am so Sag. And what's so funny is I really just grabbed it as a piece of jewelry, not as a piece of like, oh, I'm a Sagittarius doing a show today with an astrologer. So everything is obviously very aligned where we're supposed to be.
Exactly.
As we always are. So Ashley, jump in. Tell us how you got into this, what you do. Give us the magic.
Yes.
All the things.
Well, you know, Viola is magic. And I did get a chance to also read for her hot husband. So I love that you said that.
Gosh, so a lot of viewers here or listeners here who would be very interested in hearing all about Viola's reading. But anyway, on another note. Okay.
Exactly. And I was thinking about you because I think we met to do a birth chart reading back in 2021 or 2022. So
funny because when Viola's like, okay, and I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, I'm thinking, is this because didn't she do my whole, and then I remember so distinctly, you told me that I had some planet, Eucharis or Eucharis or something that was like, if you have it like that, you're destined to get divorced. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I wish I had known that, would have paid a little more attention. So,
you know what? Yes. So you have Uranus, the planet that likes to shake things up. It is an awakener planet. And listen, it's not always the case. So I'll say this, but in traditional astrology, a lot of times when we would see that, we would think, okay, if we find that planet in the seventh house of one-to-one committed partnership, long-term relationship, there perhaps should be a really significant relationship, marriage, that will have a shift or a change.
Well, that's a very gracious way of putting a shift. Yes, I have had quite a few. We shift all, back then I'm in California with the earthquakes and everything. We are shifting left and right. I mean, you know, just I'm a shifter.
Yes, as you are. Yep.
Let's go big picture. First, how did you get into this?
Yeah.
I mean, because a lot of us I'm interested in this. I'm fascinated by it, but I didn't take the next step. Like, how did you actually make it a career?
Yeah. So, you know, I think all my life I was always interested in my sun sign. I'm a Leo sun. So shocker. The sun is the partner planet of Leo. We are really interested in self. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, always would kind of dabble with it, but it wasn't until I got pregnant. And when I got pregnant, this was back in 2016, I feel like that was really kind of my year of like big spiritual awakening. Mm-hmm. And so everything became magical to me. Nature became magic. I went through a lot of, you know, how do I show this child that I'm creating here? How do I show him purpose? If I myself right now am feeling like I lack purpose. And so it was like a big sort of coming to Jesus, but not quite Jesus, if you will. And so that was happening. And then when he was born, right after, and keep in mind, I had a C-section. I was drugged up on all the things. I think I had fentanyl and who knows, whatever else.
Yeah.
But when he was born, about 15 minutes after, my palms started spinning. And that might sound weird, but I felt like there was whirlpools in my hands. And so I'm thinking I am just, you know, on cloud nine and on who knows what. And so I'm telling my husband at the time, my palms are spinning. I'm telling the doctor my palms are spinning. I think they were just thinking I was loopy and crazy.
Right.
But it kept happening. And I could feel it. And then I could realize that I could turn it on and off. And so I went to the doctor and I said, my hands are spinning. And the doctor was like, well, does it hurt? And I'm like, no, I just feel this thing and it's happening. And
like
so
a vortex kind of like.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so my sweet doctor, who just really wasn't in this world, was like, well, let's monitor it, and see. But if it's not hurting you, I don't think it's a problem. Is it bothering you? I'm like, no, it's not bothersome. It's just odd. And so, of course, I did a million Google searches and learned about the different energy centers of the body and that your palms are one of them. And that journey took me into Ayurveda, which was like the opening, kind of like the gate.
Yeah. Say you want to start smoking pot, your gateway drugs. Spinning palms after the birth of your son. So you have like a little Maytag repairman going on your paws. And you go to the doctor, he's like, okay. But now you're on a quest, right?
Yeah.
So were you on a quest? Because I'm sure it was like, okay, you read about the palms and you got to that point and a lot of people would just drop it from there. But you were like, no, I'm going to keep at this.
It did. I feel like it became insatiable. I wanted to know everything. And I was so concerned with the truth and what this was and what I could do with it. And so that just led me into astrology, into human design, into energy work, into mediumship work. I mean, it was just like I couldn't get enough. But astrology was like the one thing. And I have a lot of Gemini. And it was like the one thing where I wanted to figure it out. I couldn't get enough. I was looking at my chart, my coworkers' charts. I felt like I couldn't even work anymore. I mean, literally, I was just studying astrology at work. And I just that's when I started going to the psychics, energy readers, and I was like, help me. I just need to figure out what I'm supposed to do. I can't stop thinking about all of this stuff. And then this is going to sound so cliche and so dumb, but it was 11/11. It was November 11th.
Okay.
And I was in kind of a meditative state. And I just said, where do I start? And it was just like, you just start with astrology and you see where it goes. And it doesn't mean that this is the end all be all. And so that's what I did, is I just started there and I haven't really stopped. And I think the hard thing is with astrology is it's the study of a lifetime. And there are so many ways to use the tools of astrology to interpret things. There is Western astrology, Vedic astrology, traditional astrology. There is psychological astrology. I mean, you name it, there's a ton of different ways to practice. And so what I like to tell people is it's really similar to languages, right? Like we're all kind of saying the same thing, but maybe you speak Mandarin, I speak Spanish, this person speaks English. We're all saying the same thing. We just do it differently. And so I got really into Western astrology because I'm from the West, right? I'm living in the US and it made sense. Although Vedic astrology is really fascinating to me.
Now, what is Vedic astrology? I mean, does it have something to do with like the oil dropping on your head?
It does not. And I don't want to butcher this and I don't want to give credit to do and don't want to say anything wrong, but it is astrology that is from like based out of India and kind of East Asia.
Oh, I think, is this the one where it's like you're very hot or you're not, like it's something about like the heat in your body too?
You know what? So I feel like it's all related, but that's Ayurveda. And those are the doshas. Pitta is the fire.
I had the Pitta. That's the
you
thing.
got the Pitta.
And I remember a billion years ago taking a test in Elle magazine of all things.
Yep.
That was all, and it was like, you need to eat cool foods, you need to eat whatever, because basically, you're like hot on fire, like all the time. I hate to say that, well, Los Angeles is kind of still on fire, but that's sort of been my phrase. But okay, so you dig in and you're still insatiable. You can't get enough. And then what? You're reading charts for your friends and family. Like what happens from there?
So I was working for Marriott at the time in marketing and I knew I didn't want to do it. I mean, it was challenging to go to work. It was challenging to do my work. And so it was right at the beginning of 2020. It was really early on. And my brother's one of those people who's kind of in the loop before things happen. I remember in January, he was like, Ash, there's this COVID, there's this, virus or disease or whatever, and it's happening. And he was like, I don't know. It doesn't look good for us. And so when it really started to hit, I mean, hospitality was knocked out immediately. And so I was furloughed by the end of March. And that was my silver lining of COVID, because I'd been looking for the right time and I just couldn't figure it out. So I ended up just starting to read for folks in May of 2020. I think I did them for free until August of that year. And I mean, and keep in mind, I had been studying and took like an official.
No. I get it.
I mean, it's still a different world. It's not like I went to Harvard, got, my bachelor's.
No, I get it. But you are hanging out your shingle at this point. You're like, okay, I'm going to do this because guess what? I'm furloughed and the world is going to hell in a handbasket. And so then at what point did you, because I think that's another business question. I don't know. I think women have it way more than men, which is, how did you know what to charge? When did you start charging? When did you start charging your friends and your family? When did you say, okay, this is really a thing?
Yeah. It took me about 3 or 4 months. And it did. I mean, there was lots of imposter syndrome, lots of, can I really do this? Should I really do this? But I had a good kind of little team of astrologers who were, in this similar work. And so, I kind of just mirrored things off of people that I felt like I was in alignment with. And it still is, tricky. I started charging $60 for a chart reading back in 2020. And I now charge $200. So, but I think I'm probably a little better than I was when I first started.
Oh, I think you probably are. Well, I know. I mean, I've had you do it. It's so, so cool. Why do you think astrology is so addicting? And well, it's so addicting to me. But then on the flip side, there are so many people that are like, oh, that's so dumb. So why the black or white? Is it just kind of I'm a science person or I'm a creative person, or?
I think it takes someone like you, for example, who has Sun, Mercury, and Venus all in Sagittarius in the 9th house. The Sun is the ego. This is how we shine big and bright. This is who we're learning to become. Mercury is the planet of how we think, how we process, how we analyze. Venus is what we enjoy and what we value. You have all of that and incredibly open-minded, non-traditional, curious about the wisdom of the world and expansion sign. So someone like you is like, I could buy that, I mean, someone like you, Mercury in Sagittarius, would probably love a good conspiracy theory, good rabbit hole to go down.
Yeah. Well,
let's
that's the
do
thing.
It. Yeah.
Then add ADHD to it and you're correct. Then we are rabbithole.com because it, depending on what time of the day it is and have I eaten lunch, etc. You're totally right. And but it's so fascinating to me, pieces of astrology and human design. And when you learn something about it and then you're like, oh my gosh, that's why I am that way. Because like when you say non-traditional, like open-minded, seeking stuff, I mean, and then like, oh, Sagittarians are the classic optimists and they love to travel and all that. That's 100% me, like just the total, when's the next flight, when's the next adventure. And I like how it kind of confirms things.
And that's what I always tell my clients. I always say, this is really a session that's about self-validation. I'm not going to tell you anything that you don't already know about yourself.
Is it so different when you say it? Like, I mean, yes, you're probably not. But why are psychics and, what is this? The psychic network, my goodness, has that huge, it's like $1 gazillion freaking industry. Why? What is it just that we want, that we're craving certainty? Is it that we are bored and want something like what?
I think
what
so.
is it?
I mean, maybe we're bored, but no, I do. I think it's just part of being human. We're in this really interesting experience where, we start life, we're born, and then we die one day. But all of that in between, we're just trying to figure it out. We're like, why am I here? What am I doing? What is this all for? And I think that's the beauty of astrology. It's this ancient archetypal language that we can somehow date back to Babylonian times. Back then, we're doing the same thing. We're looking up at the celestial landscape. What is taking place between 10 plus big planets, some fixed points and some stars? What is the energy that's taking place up here? And how can we use that wisdom and bring it down here, down to earth in this human experience? it's certainly a lot easier to do that looking up at just, again, a
Mhm.
handful of planets, these guys, to look out at the billions of people and try to make sense of what's going on here.
Right.
And so
right.
that's essentially what I'm doing. So when I'm doing a birth chart reading, when I'm looking at the energy that you came in with, we're looking at a snapshot of the exact moment that you were born. And we're just looking at the energy and the patterns that you carry. Energy is not stagnant. It is always transforming. It's always alchemizing. So we might look at things and go, okay, you might have experienced this more when you were a child, but it looks like you probably worked through this. This is one of your lessons. These are some of your gifts. These are some of your hardships. So I think, again, it's just validating. You're like, yeah, that is me. But I always like
sort of makes sense. It helps you then make sense of the future of. So to me, there's like kind of a comforting feeling to it, plus an exciting feeling to it. And how do you suggest that people use it? Like, what do you think? What are the best practices?
I think everyone should have a birth chart reading if it feels good to them, because I think it's just, that's the groundwork. Like, that's the foundation. And then, I have clients who come to me every year. I have clients that come to me every 6 months. I know astrologers who work with people quarterly and, who have subscriptions, and they provide monthly insights. So I think it kind of varies, but if not for nothing, do a birth chart reading. And I think once a year, doing a year ahead reading around your birthday.
On that. You and I are going to do that, which I love.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so let's talk about that. So let's say the one level is the year ahead reading, and then it's like quarterly and, these other options. So tell us, what is a year ahead reading and what would people get from it, and how can they use it?
Well, and so keep in mind, every astrologer does things differently.
Oh, totally.
So this is just my way.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what I look at first is the inner world. And I do that through a technique of looking at the progressed moon. I'm also looking at your progressed planets, but it's the way in which your planets have grown and evolved a little bit. And so your natal planets, that is, who you are. Again, imagine you're all the Sagittarius, but those planets now, since you've lived, the years that you've been here, have grown and evolved a little bit. So I look at those planets. I look at the progressed moon, which is your inner emotional world, and just like what the need is right there. What is that progressed moon connecting to? So I focus on the inner world first, and then I move to what I call the outer world. And there's a technique where I look at the date that you were born. And there is something that we call a time lord. You have a perfected year. So for example, for the year of 50, I don't know if I want to say, I want to be respectful of age, but for you, for example.
Oh, feel free. I mean, I'm 1,000 years old, and all you talk about is how much more Botox I need.
Oh my God. Far from 1,000. Okay, but because you turned 55 in December, correct?
Yeah.
This year is an 8th house year for you. So all of the topics of the 8th house, that particular area of life, is all for you to explore. And so for you, for example, the 8th house is all about personal transformation. It's about intimacy. It's about our shared resources, the kind of assets that we have that don't come from the everyday work that we do. It's a time to connect into like all of the kind of secrets or the taboo things that we're holding and carrying that we know we need to get to the root of, and we need to transform and alchemize. So it's this area of life that's honestly, it's a little bit darker. It's a little bit murkier.
This
Scorpio.
Year is going to be darker and murkier?
And is
had the worst shit show of a year last year. How can I have more dark and murk? I'm going to be living in clay.
So sure. Yeah. What I would say though is, again, it's like you're just getting to the root of things. You are ready to lift up the rug where the dead body's buried, grab the shovel. It's time to dig it out. And so it's really transformative and it's harder work. So anyways, and we'll go over it, but honestly,
how?
I know.
And I know we're going to go over it, but now I'm like, oh my God, this is the worst. It's so funny that you're saying this too, because I've had my assistant here for this is day 3 where we have I am over all this because, last year I ended up having surgery at the end of January, and it was much more complicated. And I was in bed for, I don't know, like 6 weeks. I don't think I got out of bed for like 2 months. And then, I mean, it was just like literally one thing after another was struggles with this ranch and the financing and all this giant, huge project I was doing, right? And then I fell off my freaking horse at the end of the year. And then I'm back in bed. I was like, I spent 3 months in freaking bed in 2024. But yet all I was like, wrote the next book, launched the podcast, like stuff kept happening. But it was all like, oh my God, how much harder can this be? And it's just funny because this week, maybe because my back is starting to feel a little bit better, I'm like, we are clearing through. Oh, well, that and the fact that we had the fires, right? So we just had the fires. We were evacuated. It's been, we're not out of the woods yet. But part of that was like, I need my go box with the documents and all those things. So I was like, oh, now is the time. This is last call. I'm getting this stuff. For 3 days, we've been pulling stuff for fire victims to donate. We've been going through paper, shredding, like everything. And is that kind of part of what you're talking about too? Is this pulling up the rug? Because we've been pulling up the rug. I mean,
we certainly are. I mean, this is definitely, it's happening for you on a personal level. I would say the first 6 months of this year are a little more stuck, if you will. They're a little harder. There's definitely an ask for a pause to observe, to reflect, and then come kind of June, July through the end of the year, there's lots for you, especially career-wise, to really explore what it is and how more you want to grow and all of that. So it's not all doom and gloom by any means. So I just want to say that for you. Now, on a collective level, I mean, and yes, and I just want to say, like, listen, the fires, I'm glued to my TikTok, to the TV, to my Substack. Like, I can't get enough of it. It's awful and devastating. So I'm so sorry that's happening. And thank you for all the work that you're doing.
We can talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
Too. Don't let me forget to talk about that. But I forget what part of the country.
So I'm in Seattle.
Oh, got it. Okay. So
I'm like, okay, when's the earthquake coming? Because they've been telling us about this absolutely devastating, like tsunami inciting earthquake that we're supposed to get since like the day I was born in 84. So, I don't know, but what I will say is we are in a period of big shifts and in so many ways. And this year is really unique because we have really powerful generational planets that move really slow. Those are Pluto, Neptune, Uranus. Those three guys are making shifts. And Pluto just made a big shift. Pluto takes like 248 years to make its way around the zodiac. So when those guys change signs, when they make connections in the chart of the US or the world or in your personal life, we feel that big time. And so, we have, again, these three really big planets that do different things are all making shifts.
Now?
Yes, this year. That doesn't happen. In fact, I actually don't know the last time that happened, but it was eons and eons ago. But so Pluto we have, which we ended 2024 with kind of the last dance of Pluto leaving Capricorn and just making its way into Aquarius.
Good for me. Lord. Oh my God. Just, you guys can't see her face, but I can.
I was going to say,
maybe not so much.
Pluto is probably the hardest planet that we have, but it is the most rewarding planet. With Pluto, we talk about transformation. We talk about death and rebirth. Pluto will go where no one else wants to go. Pluto will be like, it's time to let go. And we are not going to let you hold on. We are going to destroy so that we can eventually rebuild. Yes.
That's the whole fire thing, right?
Yeah. And so it was interesting because we had Pluto in Capricorn for, I think it was like 16-ish years or so, give or take, where Pluto was moving through Capricorn, which is a sign that's connected to government, our legal system. It's connected to our infrastructure.
So now we had no water in the hydrants and how they weren't getting the water from the dam. And then we had the election and no way. Okay.
Yes. And so that's more connected to Aquarius. But Pluto for the past 16-ish years has been like, all right, guys, Do the systems of infrastructure, does government, do the laws, do the things that govern society, do they work for the people?
No.
Right. And so so Pluto is like, do they? Because if they don't, then I'm going to come knocking and periodically pull up the rug, right? And force you to really look at this, to expose what is not pretty and say, this needs to change.
Yeah.
And now Pluto has moved into Aquarius, and Aquarius is all about the humanitarian and the activist, the rebel with the cause,
No
the
way.
energy that's all about the collective and doing right by our peers. And so it's just a really individualistic kind of energy. Here we honor authenticity. We do it because then it empowers our peer to do the same. It's like, just be yourself. We can all fly the freak flag. We can all be weirdos. We're not here to be in line and to be the same. And so Pluto is, especially for the US, it was like, okay, this is like, it's a time for us to go, what isn't working? And now that we've moved into this Aquarius energy, which also has a huge note of innovation and fast moving energy. It's like the sign of the internet and social media. It's a connector, but it's really fast moving. Technology, all of that. So here you have Pluto going, all right, how are we going to destroy and how are we going to rebuild here? We should see massive changes in innovation over the next 20 years, things that we can't even comprehend because it is moving and happening so fast.
I love it.
Big shocker to see Luigi and what he did with healthcare, and that being really awful on one hand, and that being a moment to expose a lot of the corruption that we see in the systems that are here to support us.
That part is so interesting that you bring up our Luigi Mangione gentleman, because I had fallen off the worst. And coincidentally, one of my closest friends had a back issue all last year as well. And she had ended up having 2 surgeries, blah, 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 blah. So when this whole Luigi thing happened and they had said, you know, he had had a traumatic accident and had back issues and blah, 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 blah. And that's what kind of started him on all these different things, or neck issues. And she's like to me, she's like, oh my gosh, I could totally see it. Not that either one of us are about to take anybody out, but you know, when you are in constant pain and you just cannot, the wheels are just grinding and you cannot get anywhere, you know, it's horrible. But unfortunately, I do think we are going to see some changes in healthcare as a result.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So there is good that comes from it. And it is also hard. So that is one thing that's happening. We also have Uranus, that I said earlier, is this planet that likes to shake shit up. It's an awakener planet. It is.
And what is it doing? Where did it move?
I know. So
where did it move and when did it move?
Yeah. So it has been in Taurus for the past, almost 6 years. It's, you know, the planet's retrograde and they go direct.
Yeah.
But usually stays in a sign for about 7 years, give or take. And Uranus will be making, so right now it's in Taurus and it's sort of asking us to rethink the things that keep us really stable, the ways that we're really well resourced. There's a little bit of a shakeup in what we consider to be kind of our resources. And so that planet will jump into Gemini for, I think it might be 4 or 5 months here coming up in April. Gosh, don't quote me. I should have my ephemeris out. But
that's okay.
It will do this. And what's really interesting is Gemini is the connector energy. It's the most social energy sign of the zodiac. And part of it's just because it knows how to connect with everybody. It knows how to talk to the homeless person on the street the same way it knows how to talk to the King of England. It can pick up so much information and it can absorb the information and spread it. It doesn't need to deep dive into stuff. So here we should see an awakening of information that we didn't know existed. We might be
meaning awakening of information like CIA files revealed, or awakening of information like how to use AI to do that, or all of the above? Or
it is a little bit like we thought things were one way,
right?
And Uranus is like, no, they weren't. And here, we're going to show you. And so it's electrifying. I mean, Uranus is going to I think Uranus is going to unearth a lot of information that we thought was true and it isn't. It will eventually make its way here, I think, by 2026 to be in Gemini full time for, for a good chunk. But we get a little taste of it this year. So anyways, I mean, so that's happening. And then last but not least, and I'll make this guy quick, but Neptune is our most spiritual planet. Neptune is the feeler of all feels planet. I like to say sometimes Neptune is like the antenna that we wear, that we have, that connects us to all of the unseen. And so Neptune is here to help us feel connected spiritually. It's here to help us trust our intuition. It's here for us to remember like the beauty of the world. It's here for us to be compassionate and loving and appreciate the arts. There's so much depth to Neptune. And so Neptune is moving out of Pisces, where it is at home. It loves Pisces. It's
the fish.
At home very much. Exactly. It's like, we do this thing, but it's moving into Aries for a little bit this year to give us a taste of what that's like.
Wait a second. Neptune is the fisherman. Like, I think of that as water and all that. And then Aries is fire. So how's that going to work?
So it's interesting because it's a little bit like, maybe we will be able to really take different spiritual practices and ways of thinking, and we might be able to really make them much more ritual, much more part of our daily life. Like Aries just wants to go and make things happen, right? Like Aries is like, let's just do it. So we could see like dreams and things that we want, we've been dreaming about. We might be like, okay, how can we bring this? So there is some positive with it, but there's also as much beauty and compassion and like self-sacrificing service that Neptune can bring with it. It can also bring confusion, misinformation, disillusion. Because
where do the UFOs fall into this? Are they like, part of me is like, that could be a Neptune thing. And then that could be where does that come?
Honestly, all three.
UFO thing is all mixed up.
Yeah.
I mean,
all three.
It is just feels like we've been talking about UFOs for the dawn of time, but now it's like real people with real backgrounds and real science pilots. I mean, are like, I ain't seen nothing like that.
Right. Well, now we're seeing the CIA declassify documents that show that they've been using different kind of meditations to spy on foreign governments. I mean, it's incredible. And they've been able to psychically observe what is taking place, and it works. I just think that's that kind of wild time where I think for a lot of us, what I want to say is don't get into the fear. And that's hard because there should be some changes and shifts, but we're all here at this time. And so a lot of it is observe and reflect. What does this bring up for you? We're here. We're riding through it. We'll band together, right?
How do you do that? Like, so on a practical level. So do you journal every day? Do you go to the psychic, astrologer, doctor? Like, how do you taking this information in, and now like now what do we do with it so that, like you say, we don't get into the fear and we don't go down some negative rabbit hole, and we look at it as stuff just needs to get changed, and it's getting changed.
So I would say it's different for everyone, but if I was a doctor and I was like Dr. Astrology Ashley and I could write a prescription, I would talk to everyone about energetic hygiene. That would be like the cross I want to die on here. And part of it's just because from my perspective, we are all energy beings. We're all sharing energy at all times, but we're not consciously aware that we're doing it. And so we are picking up on people's energy all the time. And so then it's hard to discern what is yours and what isn't. But if we could keep our vessels protected and clear, the way that you brush your teeth was the way that you would take care of your energy, your body.
So let's say I drink the Kool-Aid and I'm like, fine about the hygiene. Tell me, like, what does Ashley do? What is Ashley's prescription? What does that look like?
So it looks like different for everyone. For someone like I stepped into a bubble before I got on the podcast today. Also because I was in your chart and was looking at your head. But I step in this fake bubble that's in my head and I zip up my bubble and I tell the universe nothing and no one, no energy can penetrate my bubble. This is mine. At night before I go to bed, if I take a shower, I'm releasing anything with the water that doesn't serve me. I like to use crystals like viola. I like to use smoke as well. Some people like a walk in nature. You know, some people might like a grounding meditation. There's all kinds of ways.
So it's a daily like proactive, like protection thing if you're going into a meeting or need space for yourself. But then it sounds like at the end of the day, it's kind of like clearing the hard drive, shutting down the computer as opposed to just closing the top of it, right? Yeah. It's a daily reboot. So how you do it might look different for everybody. Mm-hmm. It sounds like the goal is still the same, which is this daily releasing what doesn't serve you and kind of acknowledging that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Letting the day, a fancier version of letting the day go and not just letting it go, but like literally, it's like something going in the garbage disposal, but now you're going to run the disposal as opposed to just like letting it just sit there. That's one component to it.
Exactly. And I just think with how much access we have to information, with how connected we are, and again, it's all energy. I'm like, something's got to give. We need to protect our energy because if not, my fears and worries might be the fears and worries that I just picked up watching the news for an hour and all of the devastating information I just absorbed, or my friend's divorce that she's going through or whatever, right? We just got to do that. So, for somebody who's really earthy, that might look different for them. They might be like, I'm not so sure about using words with intention or whatever. Maybe they would rather do a nature walk and clear their head or something. I mean, again, everyone's different.
But does it go by types of signs, like the earth signs, the fire signs? Is it kind of organized that way?
It could be. I mean, I think there's we're humans. There's so much nuance, but I'm really watery. And so for me that, I like the shower with, and I like speaking words of intention and I like the smoke and all the things. So it doesn't have to, but it can.
Right. So what about for fire signs? Again, I know you're generalizing, but how do fire signs do their daily hygiene? Burn sage every day? What do you?
I know. I think, that's a really good one. Maybe for fire signs, we would do, because again, like fire signs just want to go and they want to act on something and do things. So maybe even they would like the idea of the bubble because I'm physically stepping into something. I'm doing this. I think for air signs, perhaps doing breath work. Somebody who's got a lot of air. So using the breath to.
And then getting rid of it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah. I love that. And so the goal is to do it once a day, kind of at the end of the day to cleanse. And then when you need to go into your own version of the bubble or the protection thing, is there then do you do a monthly monthly reboot or what else besides the daily?
Well, and so I would say, daily, you brush your teeth in the morning and at night, right before you go to bed. And then just depending on what you need, for me, I meet with a Reiki guy every other week and we just do 10 minutes. Meeting with someone like Viola would be great if that feels good to you, but I do think we're entering an era where just like we have our doctor and our dentist, maybe we have our astrologer, and we have our Reiki
Okay.
healer.
So that's how we should look at it, is just as kind of these regular check-ins as opposed to something you have to get a gift certificate for.
Right. Exactly. I think and again, I always want to say to people, if it feels right to you.
Well, right. Hey, listen, there are going to be certain people that no matter what we say, it's not going to resonate. That's okay.
Yeah.
But okay, I love it. And so because obviously the fires have been so challenging. So tell me one more time, what do you think, did we see something coming, now that we can kind of look back, did we see something come? Because it's also very interesting to me that it's the beginning of the year. And then here in Pasadena, where I live, it was like 1 minute we're looking at the Rose Parade floats and oh, yay. And then the next minute it's like, done, like total, everything has been leveled.
Yeah. And honestly, I haven't looked at like the chart of Los Angeles or that area. And so I'm sure there's other astrologers that might have much more insight. But I do just think if we think about even just Pluto in general, and we think about, just destruction and like death and rebirth, I just think it seems like this is a time for LA to go, okay, what is lurking underneath that is not good anymore, and it needs to be transformed and alchemized. And maybe the way that we do that is, through this
burning it all down,
purging and burning. And it's awful. And I don't listen, like no one deserves this.
We're not talking about a deserve thing. It's just more like a curiosity of where does it come from. So what do you do with people who then check in with you quarterly? What does that look like? Is it an hour Zoom call? And what are you kind of telling them, hey, be prepared for, is it like a warning curves ahead sign type of thing, or what? Yeah. Or, hey, listen, you're going to want to be calm and reflect.
What's happening?
What would they expect?
So one of the things that's really fascinating, especially when we're looking at like a year ahead or the quarter ahead, is to look at the planets that are in the sky, where they currently are, and how they impact your natal chart, where the planets were when you were born. And looking at that, I can see different patterns that are taking place. I can see different events, like different energy that's coming up for you. And it's energy, right? So we all have free will. It's how you work with the energy. So what I like to say to people is, listen, I'm not going to sit here and tell you are going to do X, Y, and Z. I might say, like I just said to you, the back half of the year, I'm going to talk to you about a couple areas where you've got some really supportive energy to grow your career, to think outside the box on what really feels good and right for you. So that just gives you a way to get really intentional with the quarter or with the year. Because you're like, I've got this energy here and I can work with it at its best. And what's fascinating is because this is us, this is what we should be doing. So many of my clients, especially the ones who are really self-aware, they're already doing it. I'm sure when we'll talk and I'll say, okay, this is coming up for you, you're going to be like, that's crazy because I just decided to X, right? Because it's our energy that we're in. But I think it just gives us this ability to be really intentional. So that to me is the perk of it. And again, I'm never going to, I'm not Miss Cleo. I tell people that. I'm not going to say, you're going to get married on the 27th and, your partner's, whatever, no.
On that note, though, does the numerology component or the whole Chinese stuff of these auspicious days, does any of that factor into what you do?
No, not currently, not in my work, but I do. I mean, listen, I have a moon in Gemini. My inner world, like the stuff that just lights me up and like fuels my soul is, I'm just so curious about everything. I just want so much more information. So I am interested too. I feel like I'm going to be weaving in more things with my practice, but not yet. But I do in all of my readings and my follow-ups, I always include a bunch of resources for people who I work with, who I can kind of vouch for. And so I have a great numerologist. I have a great medium. I have a great psychic. I have a great,
I
Viola.
Love it. I would love to just all day long be just meeting with people.
I know.
It would be so fascinating. Well, what do you think most people come to you for? Do they come to you for something's not working? Do they come to you for, I'm curious? Do they come to you for, I've got this past stuff I can't get rid of? Like, what for you, what is kind of, do you see any patterns?
Yeah. Love and purpose. And I would extend the purpose to work, but it's really like, those are the two things. I mean, there's some people who are just really curious and are like, I just want a reading. I want to hear what you have to say. But usually,
but for most people, there's an impetus. Got it. And what would you say to people who are on the fence? Like, in a minute, we're going to tell people how to get a hold of you and how to follow you on Instagram or whatever. So what about if somebody just is listening to this and they're curious, what's the next step and what could they expect out of that next step?
Yeah. I mean, this isn't promoting myself, but there's an astrologer that I absolutely adore, Chani Nicholas, and she has an app that I think does a really good job of making the astrology really palatable, easy to digest. And I might be biased, but I read the way that she does. And so I think that's a great way to just kind of dip your foot. You get like weekly insights based on your chart. And she does a lot of like the week ahead and talks about the energy. So I think that's a great way to kind of dip your toes. And then when you're ready, you find someone like me and do a birth chart reading. And then I usually think it's really at that point that either the client's like, okay, I know I would be interested in the year ahead reading. And then I know that person that might be all they need. They don't want much more.
How do you spell that woman's name, or what's the name of the app?
Yes. So the app is just Chani, Chani.
Okay.
Nicholas.
Cool.
But so anyways, I think there's a lot of apps out there.
Yeah.
And to me, that's my favorite. I think there's a couple others that are really for maybe like budding astrologers, but to me,
but that's a good one. That's a good one to start with. And then of course they graduate to you. Well, how do they graduate to you? How do they find you? Yes. How do they reach out, ask questions, maybe get a reading set up? Give us your details.
Yes. So my company's Shift and Shine. So my website is shiftandshine.com. So you can book with me from there. I'm on Instagram at _Shift and Shine. I'm on TikTok as Ashley McFarland. I am Ashley McFarland. And so I hope TikTok stays. The astrology is really good for it to stick around, but it's going to be tricky.
I feel like TikTok, people ask me that and I'm like, oh, I totally think it's going to stick around. I don't think there's any, I mean, not that I'm some astrologer now, but I don't think there's any possible way that it's going to go night-night. We'll see.
Same. So that's probably the best way.
I love it. Okay. Any parting shots, any closing words you want to tell people about 2025 or anything else?
Okay. So say you listen to this and you're not into astrology, that's fine. But if you can, find your birth time so you can find out what your rising sign is. Oh, that is another cross that I will like die on because listen, in traditional astrology, your rising sign was always your horoscope. But with the integration of modern astrology and Freud and the ego, we shifted to the sun. It also makes sense because up until more recently, most people didn't have their birth time. That was really for people of means, for royalty, for people who had that kind of access and privilege. But when you look at the horoscope for your rising sign, there is much more information. It will not only speak to the energy, but it will speak to the area of life that's being impacted for you. So find out your rising sign. And when you see the astrologers, whatever, look at your horoscope for your rising sign. I am a Leo sun, Venus, Mercury, and I'm a Cancer rising. I never even know what Leo's going on with Leo. I look at it for Cancer. And it is so... It resonates like beyond. So anyways,
you don't look at it for Cancer as your sun sign. You look at it for Cancer as like when they're talking about rising signs, right?
Well, any horoscope, when someone shares a horoscope, just look at it for whatever sign is the rising. Oh, you can still look at it for your sun. There will be information for sure. Okay, but the rising is so much more accurate.
Really?
So even like when you hear the astrologers talking about, like the full moon we just had in Cancer.
Yeah.
You would look at the horoscope for that full moon according to your rising sign. So for example, for you, you're an Aries rising. When you look at the horoscope, look at it for Aries.
That's so funny because when I do look at it so many times for Aries, because my boyfriend is Aries, I'll be like, what should freaking be me? Right? But basically, because it is.
Yeah.
I love. Well, Ashley, I cannot thank you enough for being on the program. So you guys go find Ashley at shiftandshine.com. And if you haven't already, please follow the show, tell a friend, leave 5 stars, we hope, and leave a comment. And that's it. It was another really great one. So Ashley, thank you. Listeners, thank you. And I'm excited to see what happens next. Let's see.
Thank you, Marley. This was so fun.
Good. So great.